I think it kind of started from a conversation between me and Konstantinos about creating like a very interdisciplinary space and sort of bring together people from different disciplines to examine issues around politics and art and culture. And we thought that CRASSH would be the ideal sort of place to make that happen.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that I cannot think of many research centers that would accommodate such an interdisciplinary conference about the commons. And we wanted to invite academics, activists, artists, curators, and give them the chance to engage in a interdisciplinary event that would bring together praxis and theory. And I think that CRASSH allowed us to do that. And also we wanted to take advantage of the resources, the generous funding, and the administrative help for the promotion and the publicizing of the event. I think that CRASSH proved to be the best place to do that. So I think that the main aim was to bring together a heterogeneous public from diverse disciplines, and also from both the theoretical realm and the sphere of praxis. And again, that's why we invited artists, academics, practitioners, activists, and curators. And the aim from the beginning was to organize not only an isolated event, but something that would have continuity. So it was a starting point for us to do something more. And I think that this was achieved because now we're discussing about the possibility of a publication. So we hope to keep the discussion going.
Yeah, I think just as Konstantinos was saying, it was very much about kind of looking at themes from a different perspective that comes out of these like different practitioners and theorists. So to create that kind of conversations that we felt don't happen enough perhaps around the theme of the commons. And I think we very much wanted to create a conversation, like a kind of round table event, and something where the audience is very involved as well. And I think that kind of having to move online because of the corona has sort of proven to be a challenge in that way. But I think overall we did manage to create something that is not too far away from our initial goal. And there was like a real kind of fascinating conversation going on. I think just sort of seeing everyone, like seeing how it came about together, and seeing the type, kind of being part of these fascinating conversations that happened through this event, and seeing how well people responded to each other's kind of questions and presentations and theories, and the audience's engagement as well, and feeling like people really want to continue this conversation beyond the conference.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that it's important to clarify that our initial intention was to organize a physical event, but it was turned into a virtual event because of the pandemic. So we kind of missed the chance to have those physical interactions and the hanging out after the conference that you normally have when you organize a physical event. So there wasn't a specific highlight, at least in my eyes. But what was striking to me that when we started contacting potential speakers to invite them to a virtual conference in the midst of a global pandemic and a social upheaval in the US, we were a bit reluctant on how invitees will react to our invitation. And I think it was striking to me to see how thrilled and fascinated and supportive everyone was to the idea to carve out this space, even a virtual space, for collective reflection. And as Michal said, I think it was really inspiring to see how overwhelming the participation was, and how active the engagement was, and how positive the feedback was from the audience from around the world. Neither of our researches is directly related to the topic of the commons, but I think that this event motivated us to pursue further the different connotations and the different meanings and the different theoretical underpinnings that the commons have. And in a broader sense, I would say that the conference helped my research, but indirectly, since I better understood that we need to translate something which is really academic, something that has a rigid theoretical, let's say, vocabulary into more accessible language for the broader audience.
Yeah, I think as Konstantinos was saying, it's not the direct kind of focus of my own research, but I think it's really nice to go beyond that through organizing a conference. And I think there's just a lot of things that it's really useful for. So firstly, connections. You know, it gives you a chance to sort of invite people that you always wanted to meet, to engage in the conference. You get to meet people that way. I think another really important thing is that we've gained experience in organizing such a big event, because we had like 265 people attending, and it's definitely something that I think me and Konstantinos have never done before, and it would have been really hard without the kind of support that CRASSH provides. So we basically learned how to organize events, which is a really useful skill.
When a big event like this is organized, changes are meant to happen, unexpected occurrences are meant to happen, delegates will drop out at the last moment. So yeah, in our case, we were in the midst of booking tickets for delegates to fly over to Cambridge, and then we had to turn it into a virtual event because of the pandemic. So I think it's important to be flexible, to be open-minded. And if I have an advice, I think that would be to aim high, because I think that CRASSH is a very unique research center and it can support really big events. So I would advise other potential conveners to do not hesitate to organize the event that they have in mind. I think that CRASSH can support it and they should aim high.
Yeah, I think these are great tips. I totally agree. So definitely flexibility. We've had kind of people joining or dropping out of the conference up until around a week before the event. And I think this flexibility needs to kind of come alongside sort of being really, really organized and communicating really well with like all your speakers, between yourselves. So it's like this weird kind of mix between the two. And definitely to aim high. I think we kind of achieved something that is much bigger than I would have thought we would have been able to. And I think a lot of it is to do with kind of CRASSH and what it represents to people and the type of facilities they offer. So, you know, yeah, make your kind of dream conference and invite the people that you really want to invite.
And I think that we saw that when we invited people, and most of the invitees were already familiar with CRASSH, they had already attended some similar events, and they were really positive to engage in a discussion at CRASSH. So I think it's important to aim high. Yeah, I think that's really crucial.